Okay, today's video I find personally exciting. It's going to be about linear focusing, and it is the one thing that, to my knowledge, Panasonic is doing the best job with. So you want to see this video. And without further ado, let's go. Here what I've done is I have a little camera, which you can see down below, which is looking at the lens itself. And then I'm going to be turning the focus wheel. And if we go in here, you can see I have one mark set up, and then I have another mark set up. And one is set for the foreground, and one is set for the background. Now, part of doing this, pardon if I shake the camera, I don't have this really in the best position to do this as far as getting my hands around the camera, is getting muscle memory. Anyone who's done focus pulls and everything knows that with a standard cinema lens, you can get muscle memory, which you can sit there and kind of get back to the same mark almost without actually having to have a mark. That's what I'm doing now. You can see I'm getting roughly there, maybe not exactly. I'm not a professional focus puller. But the thing to look at is the fact that even though I went back and forth several times, when I go in here and I go back to each one of these marks, the item is still in focus. If you go back and you look at my XT4 one, you'll see that it drifted. And in particular, especially if you do this really quick, it would get a drift. But there's the back, and there's the front, and you can see it is still smack on. Now I'll show you that these lenses are not perfect because they're not mechanically linked like a manual lens is. So if I make the error of overshooting my mark and going past the stops, because as we know we can rotate these things forever, and now I go back, I've lost my mark, or at least I think I should have. Or maybe I haven't. Well, actually, still seems to be good. Okay. Perhaps I'm surprising myself. Well, let's go the other way. Let's bottom it out at the far end without knocking my marks here. So I work around it. Okay, so let's go back. And there we go. Okay, that's now as I expected. Now we can see it no longer works. If I can remember which one is my mark, I believe, yeah, this is my back mark. What I can do to kind of get back in sync, even though I kind of lost because the fact that that thing can rotate around and loses its position, I can match it up to my mark again, hit the autofocus button so that it puts it back in focus, and then I'm still right back where I started. And again, you can do that on either. You just need to make sure that you've selected your object that you want to focus on before you hit the AF button. So I did it again, but this time on the foreground object. And as you can see, everything's still back in sync. So if you're the focus puller, you can make this work. Even though there's not marks, you can sit there and set up some kind of a a scheme to make marks on here, on the lens, or you can buy a focus wheel and put a gear on the lens, and as long as you don't go past the marks, it will, each time you set marks and go to them, it will work. To me, that's huge. I mean, if you're a video person, that alone could draw you to this camera versus another camera, because the execution on it seems to be perfect. Now I'll show this separately, but the other thing is the degree. The fact that Panasonic has given so much for the video person in this respect is you can actually even go into the menu settings and actually change the amount of rotation that you want. I believe I have it set to 300, but we'll go in there and change that. And I'll put it on my Ninja so that you can see what I'm talking about. But as far as this part of the video, as you can see, we keep on coming to the exact same spot every time, and we're in focus. And if, like I said, you do rotate it too far and you go off the scale, then you can actually put it back onto one of your target marks, hit the AF, get it back into focus, and you'll be right back into operation again. So again, absolutely huge as far as I'm concerned, because even if I had the best focusing camera on the planet at this moment in time, there will still be times when you're going to want a manual focus and you're going to want a tool like this. So let me go ahead and plug in my Ninja and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, now that we are looking at the camera's point of view, and I'm recording to the Ninja so you can actually see what's going on as far as what you can see in the Finder or on the LVF, because the camera and the Ninja makes that possible. What they've done is you can actually go in here and go to the gear symbol, and then you go to the lens symbol, and you go to focus ring control, and this is where it lets you set either linear or non-linear. For those people not familiar, non-linear is what you're accustomed to. If you've ever noticed that when you turn your focus ring on one of these digital lenses, the faster you turn that ring, the faster it accelerates the focusing. I'm trying to re-explain that. It's not the distance that you turn the ring, but the speed at which you turn the ring kind of controls how quickly it changes focus. So if you turn it slower, it doesn't respond as fast as that. When you turn it faster, it responds and moves the focus quicker, which can be beneficial to photographers and stuff. So as a thought, when they originally came up with that idea, it probably wasn't bad. But when you're doing video, and to actually be quite truthful, I kind of really like linear. And the reason is that whenever I turn that lens, I kind of get the same response. So if I move it a little quicker, it's the amount I move the ring and not the speed at which I move the ring that affects focus. But let's dig deeper in what Panasonic has done. If you go back, I did a video on Fuji that had linear focusing, and it was a step in the right direction, but the problem was that it was not consistent. And as I've shown you, this was dead on consistent. And it also didn't have any particular settings. You just put it into nonlinear or linear mode, and I found that from lens to lens, it was incredibly different depending upon the lens, whether you have a telephoto or whatever. Now, in this case, I only have the one lens for the S5 currently, and that's the 20-60. So obviously that's what I'm showing, but considering the nature of how they've set it up, I would think it addresses all lenses, and I will certainly look at the Sigma 45 to see if when you go to the third-party brands like Sigma, that it responds in the same way, because I think the problem with Fuji is that kind of precision of knowing where the lens is at inside of a lens is just not there in the Fuji lenses. Whereas I think Panasonic was really smart and they built that kind of precision, and it's built around encoder technology. There's ways to know where that focus ring is, and it can be clicking off magnetic things. It could be a little optical encoder looking at stripes as it passes. It could be like a potentiometer that gives a set voltage depending upon where it's at. I don't know what technology they're using, but it's basically encoders are what they use to know where something is at any particular time, and it's usually because it's counting marks or whatever, or clicks or pulses to know where it's at. I just don't think the precision's in the Fuji lenses, and so I don't think they can ever do this as well as Panasonic has done. But without further ado, let's get into what Panasonic has done here. For those not familiar with it, because I don't think a lot of people talk about this, but I think this is really, really important for video people, and maybe video people don't talk about it because they take it for granted. But not only do we have linear, we also are able to go in here and set the linear function, and we can set how many degrees you turn the lens to get from its min to max point. Now, like I said, the lenses, the focus wheels are continuously moving unless you have one with a focus clutch, and I think that would kind of negate some of the effects of this, because it's going to give you a set amount of turns, whereas this, you can literally go in, if you look at this, and set how many degrees that you have to turn the focus ring to go from min to max focus. So here, let me go ahead and set this in 90 and give you an idea. We were on our background here as far as our marks go, but now our marks aren't going to mean anything anymore, because there's my other mark. And as you can see, it's response. I'm barely turning this. Maybe, God, less than a. It's going to be in focus first. Maybe about a ½ inch to go from. But I mean, it still works in the sense of muscle memory, even though I don't have really a good hold on the lens here. So as far as muscle memory, it's still good. So you get to choose where you want to be. Me personally, I always have been using, so far, the 300 setting, and I'm pretty content with that because it lets me get a real precise focus when I'm focusing. And so again, we'll go here and oops, need to so there's the one and the other, and so I'm turning this about 2 or 3 inches to get it. And again, I know you can't see this because don't have two ninjas to record it. I can go in, put it on my mark, so I have put it on my mark, that I believe was for the foreground, and if I put my box on it, I can focus on it, and I should probably show you that. Here's me moving around my focus box. So we're going to put him on the back because he's the harder one to seize and focus. And oh, actually, I picked the wrong candidates. Okay, so put him on here and hit my autofocus button. He's now in focus, and now I will go to my other previous mark, and there he is. Foreground is in, background is in, foreground, background, and I am just usually kind of a combination of muscle memory and my marks, and I am just shooting back and forth. So there we go, background and foreground. And again, wherever you want to reset your focus, you can just put it on it and hit that AF button. So if you do rotate it too far and lose your mark, you can go back in there and reset it. So just an absolutely fantastic feature to be able to set this to your personal preference of how many degrees that you'd like to use. Again, I do not know how this operates with third-party lenses, so I don't know if the Sigma lenses, so when I do get my 45 2.8 that I should be getting as a bonus to pre-ordering this camera, I will go in and test this and at least put a note in here that it is either working or it's not. The big bonus is that no matter which Panasonic lens I put on here, I would think it's going to share these same focus characteristics. So if I put 300 degrees, each lens I put on is going to use that 300 degrees to get from maximum to minimum focus. So I don't know if everyone is excited about this like me, but I absolutely am just thrilled by this, and I think anyone who's into any kind of cinema photography would be absolutely thrilled by this, because it makes these digital lenses as functional as they can be. Okay, I just wanted to say something. Usually I just use a stock finisher for a set of videos that I've been doing lately. But I did want to say something about linear focusing. I think this is something that's very special about Panasonic cameras, and as I did mention it in the video while I was doing it, if you have other experience with other manufacturers that are doing good things when it comes to linear, please mention it down below for my edification and for those people who are also looking. To the best of my knowledge, this implementation of linear focusing with these digital lenses is the best on the market. Like I said, I have used Fuji's, which was a good effort, and it does give you something to work with. And I have a video, which I will put it up here, up there, so that you can go and find it and take a look at it. But you know, if you compare that to what the Panasonic's doing, it's night and day, and this could be the one function of the camera that could really influence someone who's into videography, that this is the right camera for them. And I really mean that, because it's one of the really important features to me, and I'm just overjoyed at how well Panasonic takes care of it. Okay, that's our video for today. I hope it was helpful, and if it has been, I don't have affiliate links, so if you'd like to give me a donation or buy me a cup of coffee for my efforts, I would appreciate it. Otherwise, please give me a thumbs up, and if you can, please subscribe. The more subscribers I get, the more it encourages me also to do more. And I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one. Bye.